You know that feeling, right? That frustration? You've got one app for your calendar, another for project management, and a third for your team chat. But getting them to actually share information, it feels like a total nightmare. It's this universal headache in our digital lives. But what if I told you there's an unseen hero working behind the scenes to solve this exact problem? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on a super important role you've probably never heard of, but one you interact with every single day: the integration engineer. These are the digital architects who are making our fragmented tech world feel like one single, seamless experience. All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll dive into the problem, what I'm calling the Great Disconnect. Then we'll meet our hero, the integration engineer, and check out a day in their life. After that, we'll peek inside their essential toolkit, and finally, we'll look at why this job is more important than ever for our connected future. Let's get into it. So let's set the stage here. We all dream of this perfectly synced digital world, right? Where everything just works. But the reality? Well, behind the screen, it's often pure chaos. On the one hand, you have the promise, this dream of seamless data flow, total automation, and just flawless efficiency. But on the other hand, what so many businesses are actually dealing with is a mess. We're talking isolated data silos, clumsy manual workarounds, and really costly errors. And it's this huge gap between the dream and the reality where all the trouble starts. Now, what's really interesting is that this disconnect is caused by some very specific hurdles. And thanks to some research from MergeDev, we know these aren't just minor glitches. We're talking about serious performance issues, like painfully slow data syncs, the inability to scale quickly because building one-off connections just doesn't work, the bureaucratic nightmare of just getting access to a partner's API. And get this, sometimes the instructions are unclear, outdated, or even in a completely different language. So who steps in to clean up this mess? It's time to meet the hero of our story, the integration engineer. The best way to think of them, they're like a digital translator, fluent in the languages of countless different systems. So here's the bottom line. An integration engineer is the pro who designs and literally builds the digital bridges between all those different systems. They're the ones who make it possible for completely separate apps to finally talk to each other and share data, almost like they were designed to work together from the very start. They are, for sure, the architects of synergy. See, it's not enough for each app or system to work well on its own. Their entire job is to take that collection of individual parts and transform it into a single, cohesive machine that functions as a whole. And this quote from an engineer persona study really gets to the heart of what drives them. They aim to streamline the data provision process. It shows you it's not just about writing code, it's about that unique satisfaction you get from solving a really complex puzzle and making everything just work. So what does this look like day to day? Well, it's kind of like a cycle. They're analyzing existing systems, then designing and building new connections. They maintain them to keep everything running smoothly, and this is a big one, they troubleshoot when things inevitably go wrong. And right at the center of all that is collaboration, working with all the different teams to keep those digital gears turning. Okay, let's put it all together and see what a typical day on the front line looks like. It is a constant battle against digital chaos, where just one broken connection can bring an entire business to a grinding halt. This timeline from a Deloitte consultant gives us a fantastic snapshot. The day kicks off with a team stand-up to get aligned. Then it's on to proactive health checks, looking for trouble before it even starts. By afternoon, they could be pushing a critical code change through an automated pipeline. And then, bam, a P1 incident hits. That's priority 1, the highest alert level. A client's main app is having connection issues, and everything else stops. It's all hands on deck. And for these critical systems, the job never really ends. A lot of integration engineers are part of a 24/7 on-call rotation. Why? Because when a key business process depends on their integrations, downtime is just not an option. It is absolutely a high-pressure, high-stakes environment. So what kind of tools do these digital heroes use to fight their battles? You can't go into this kind of fight empty-handed, right? Let's take a look at the engineer's essential toolkit. This breaks it down really nicely. First, you've got API development tools like Postman to actually build and test the connections. Then you have CI/CD tools, that's continuous integration and continuous deployment, things like Jenkins, to automate how new code gets rolled out. For the really heavy lifting, there are powerful integration platforms like MuleSoft to orchestrate the whole thing. Of course, they use version control like Git to track every single change. And finally, monitoring tools like Splunk to watch it all in real time and catch problems fast. All of this brings us to the big picture. So why does this one role matter so much right now? Well, the simple answer is that the future is built on connection. And hey, the demand for these skills, it shows up in the paycheck. According to fieldengineer.com, the average salary for an integration engineer in the US is over $96,000. This isn't just a job, it's a lucrative and seriously sought-after career. And we're not just talking about software companies. This expertise is critical everywhere. From next-gen manufacturing and healthcare to the automotive and aerospace industries, any modern business relies on people who can make all their technology work together seamlessly. Now, let's look ahead for a second, because this is where things get really interesting. This quote from a Titan Technology report points to the next massive shift. AI is becoming more than just a tool. It's on track to become a genuine partner in our workflows. And what do partners need to do? Well, they need to communicate. And that leaves us with one final, fascinating question to think about. As these new AI agents, our future digital coworkers, join the workforce, they're going to need to connect to all of our existing systems. They're going to need a translator, which means the integration engineer isn't just important today, they're about to become one of the most critical roles of the future.